Eagle 95.1, WUPN, Paradise, Sault Ste. Marie.
It's time for The Game. Eagle 95.1 proudly brings you The Game, the Twin Sault's only regional and national sports show. For the next hour, we'll get an in-depth look at sports in the Eastern Upper Peninsula and Algoma region and hear from coaches and players involved in The Game. Now, let's join Scott Nason at the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street in downtown Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, for tonight's broadcast of The Game on Eagle 95.1.
Time to play the game. Time to play the game.
Greetings and salutations and welcome to The Game on Eagle 95.1. Scott Nason broadcasting from the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street. Our broadcast engineer tonight is Katie Woolen. The Game, where we talk local, regional, and national sports. The full 2-hour show available online. We do the first hour on the radio from 6 to 7, and then you can find the full podcast of The Game later on tonight at the podcast page, snason.podomatic.com. Head on down to the Wicked Sister for the live broadcast. We'll be here till 8 o'clock on this rainy night, the first Saturday in December, and lots going on at the Wicked Sister. And they have a holiday promotion going on. Receive a free Wicked Sister pint glass if you buy a $25 gift card, and a great, great deal for anyone that is tough to shop for. Christmas coming up in, 3 weeks. And if you come down tonight, $1 off of all draft pints. And we are joined by our usual cast of characters, at least one of them. He's a character. His name's E.J. Russell, joining us here at the Wicked Sister. E.J.,
in the house.
Thanks for joining us.
Like I'm going to miss this. Always happy to be here, Sky. Pleasure to be sitting next to you and this guy right here.
That's right. Welcome back to Eagle 95.1. Todd Olmstead. Now, Todd's going to be broadcasting some of the Brimley Bay's basketball games this season. So, Todd, thanks for joining us here at the Wicked Sister.
Fantastic to be here, Scott. Thank you. And EJ, it's fantastic to be here with you as well. Thank you.
It's been quite a while since I've seen Todd. I was telling him last time we actually got a chance to sit down and talk to each other. It was a softball tournament out in Brimley, so there you go.
There you go. We'll be joined by Brimley head coach Matt Bathy for the boys basketball team as the Bays will start their season on Tuesday. And then at 6:30, we'll be joined by Deion Parker, assistant coach for the Lake Superior State University women's basketball team. And 6:45, Butch Davis from the Telegram News and Butch on Sports will tell us about the woeful week in Detroit sports. But we got to cover local sports, guys, and the girls basketball season began last week. Brimley had their first game on Tuesday. They fell to Newberry by the score of 40-32 as Kendra Carrick had 11 points to lead the Bays. Olivia Wilcox added 7. Alexis Groundhout had 13 points to lead Newberry. Now the Bays will be at home tomorrow night taking on Alance, and that'll be our first Brimley Bays broadcast as EJ and I will be out at the Carl Parker Gymnasium for that game tomorrow night. Pre-game show 7:15 with the tip-off around 7:30. And then we'll have Thursday night's game in Cedarville for the boys featuring the Brimley Bays and Cedarville Trojans. And Friday night we'll be back at home as the girls will take on Cedarville. Now, Todd, you're going to be joining us here either later on this week or early next week. Getting excited to back in the saddle, so to speak, for Brimley Bays basketball this year?
Very much so. I'm excited about this team. There's not many years where you have a team locally that can demand the respect and attention, and I couldn't be happier to be covering Brimley Bays this year, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we're excited to do it. And EJ, you're going to be joining me on Color tomorrow night. Looking forward to getting back in the gym for some high school basketball.
There's, in my opinion, as far as high school sports goes, and I'm a guy, I love football, you know that, Scotty, but there's nothing better than a full gymnasium for a high school basketball game. Nothing better. I can't wait. I'm so excited to see these girls play tomorrow night. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun indeed. Looking back at last week, some of the games, Cedarville on Monday night defeated Hillman by the score of 44-41. Mackenzie Barr had 14 points for the Trojans. Tuesday night, Pickford won their first game against Inland Lakes, winning by the score of 59-32. Darcy Bennett had 18 points to lead the Panthers. Also on Tuesday night, Todd, your alma mater, Detour, they fell at Harbor Light Christian by the score of 52-31. On Tuesday night, also Rudyard lost their first game, losing to Harbor Springs by the score of 45-34. Last Wednesday, Pickford, they improved to 2-0 as they win at home at the Purple Palace in Pickford, as we like to call it, 44-37. Pickford 2-0. They'll be home to Rudyard on Thursday. In that game last week, Taylor Apolka, 28 points for the Pickford Panthers. She's going to Grand Valley State. Well, when you have numbers like that, no surprise. Also, last week on Wednesday, Detour drops to 0-2 as they lose at Indian River Inland Lakes by the score of 43-31. They'll be taking on Mackinac City at home on Wednesday. Friday night in Newberry sees Engadine winning by the score of 66-59 to open their season 1-0. Newberry's in action tonight, taking on the Sioux High Blue Devils. And speaking of Sioux High, they lost a tough one on Saturday, losing to Escanaba by the score of 38-37. Cece Warner had 14 points for the Blue Devils. But, gentlemen, it's the first week of basketball, and while wins and losses are important, it's where you get to come January, February, and into early March, isn't it, Todd? I mean, you these results, while they matter in some regard, you just want to get your team better, don't you, at this point?
You don't want to peak right now, as they say. You're
right.
Peaking now, there's something wrong with your team. It doesn't mean you're a bad team, but you want to play for the end. You want to peak mid-season. You want to peak the end of January, not the beginning of November, or beginning of December, end of November. So, absolutely.
We always say, EJ, in this state, you can be 0-20 and still win the state title.
Well, you know what it all comes down to right now, this time of year, it's about building chemistry with your teammates. And in order to win a state title, in order to get hot at the end of the year, like Todd said, you got to build that chemistry now. And there are a lot of teams out there that, like the Brimley girls team, have a lot of new talent this year. So build that chemistry, use these games to really become a good team, do all those team-building activities like the pasta dinners, go out. And my sister, when she played or high school basketball, go out and cause a little trouble together. I mean, I'm not endorsing negative behavior, but those girls became closer because of some of the shenanigans, but use this time of year to build as a team.
High school hockey this week, the Sioux High Blue Devils had 3 games. They had a 3-3 tie on Tuesday night at Alpena, and then had the CVB showcase at the Big Bear Arena on Friday and Saturday. I called the game on Friday. It was a nice 5-0 win for the Blue Devils as Aaron Bumbaco had a pair of goals. Sound like Dave McKeag there at the Bumbaco, didn't I? A little Canadian accent mixing in there.
Buddy.
Matthew Thurston also had a goal and a pair of assists as freshman Logan Raphael earned his first shutout in net, making 9 saves. And then on Saturday, Tim Ellis had the call of the Sioux High Blue Devils taking on Utica Eisenhower, one of the best teams in D2. And, well, the Blue Devils lost by the score of 4-3 in overtime, but they proved they can play with some of the big boys, as now they are 4-1-1.
There you go.
And Sioux High will be on the road this weekend at the D3 tournament in Gaylord. They'll take on Dearborn Divine Child this Friday morning at 10 a.m.
Ooh.
And then on Saturday afternoon at 4, they'll take on Grosse Isle. We'll have the call of both those games on Eagle 95.1. And, EJ, you know, we talked to Coach Ferroni a few weeks ago about this Blue Devil team. They had 4 or 5 freshmen that were out there playing. And you know what? After 6 games, they're 4-1-1. You got to like what you're seeing from the Blue Devils.
Well, and the good thing is, too, is these are probably a bunch of kids that have grown up playing together, so they have that chemistry there. So it's not like you're injecting this piece into the lineup that they don't have any kind of chemistry built, so they do know each other. So it makes it easier, at least in my experiences as a high school athlete, when I played hockey. If you have a couple of guys that you've played with together, it's much easier to bring other people into that mix and let them into part of your group. So it's great to see that they're clicking early and doing well, but going down to Gaylord, that's going to be a tough challenge.
Other hockey teams that are clicking, the Sioux Greyhounds, now winners of 14 in a row. Ooh. Which is a franchise record. They win on Thursday at Peterborough by the score of 7-5. They defeat Kingston in overtime on Friday night by the score of 3-2. And in the nation's capital, at least Dave McKeag's nation capital of Canada, Ottawa to be exact, the Greyhounds won Sunday afternoon by the score of 4-0 as Jack Kapaka scored his 23rd goal of the season. Tyler Johnson made 32 saves in the win. Gentlemen, the Sioux Greyhounds, best in the OHL, 23-3-2. And they will face Sarnia Sting, the team right behind them in the West Division, just 2 points back. And Todd, 23-3-2. That's pretty impressive for the Sioux Greyhounds.
Playoff bound, Chief. Sioux Greyhounds. My boys are just starting to get into the hockey scene. And growing up not in a hockey household, it's great to have a team like the Greyhounds to cheer for right across the border in our best friend in the nation, in Canada.
That's right, exactly.
Well, and look at the OHL's top performers of the month. One of the 4 top performers is who? Greyhounds goalie Matthew Villalta.
Villalta, yeah. 9-0, I think, in
right.
November?
When you get that kind of production from your goaltender, of course, you're going to have a nice, easy way to win 14 in a row. But still, got to have the production there. Good to see that they're doing well.
And they're not allowing a lot of shots, which definitely helps the goaltender.
Absolutely.
Sioux Eagles, they have a very impressive road trip way up north. They win on Thursday at Hearst by the score of 5-3. They defeat the Cochrane Crunch in double overtime on Friday by the score of 4-3. And then on Saturday, the Sioux Greyhounds make it a perfect 3-0 road trip as they defeat Timmins by the score of 3-1. In that game, Bobby Price, Kellen Tharaldson, and Nick Teckel all scored for the Sioux Eagles, who are now winners of 5 straight. They've improved their record to 17-10-0. And they will be on the road again this week, taking on Elliott Lake on Friday, the Sioux Thunderbirds on Saturday. EJ, this Eagles team, I've had a chance to broadcast all their home games, and it is going to be a dogfight in the West with the Thunderbirds, Blind River, Rayside, Balfour, and the Eagles. You can't count out Elliott Lake. It's going to be a fun season in the JHL.
Well, and the Eagles are now starting to finally catch up in the games played number, and I think that's really been what's been holding them back in the standings this year. But look at one of the names that you just said, Tarleton. This is a guy that
you've been touting him all year,
and I've been on the Tarleton train all year. But a rookie still producing for his team, and when they're getting that production from the defensive position, it is hard to stop a guy like that. Look at the LA Kings, a guy like Drew Downey, somebody who's gone out and performed year after year. When you have players like that on your team, they help you win games.
And Todd, you got to get your boys to some of these Eagle games coming up because it's a good value for your buck.
It's a very good value for your buck, and I recommend anybody listening tonight do that. Exactly what Scott said. Cheers.
It's a lot of fun. The Sioux Indians at home this weekend, taking on the vaunted Little Caesars program. They did lose on Saturday by the score of 3-0, and then defeated Little Caesars yesterday morning by the score of 4-2, as the Sioux Indians player Cody Colgrove had a pair of goals for the Indians, with Hudson Troyer and Garth Wickham also getting goals, and had a nice couple videos and photos from our good friend Dan Lasley, who helped me on Friday night for the Sioux High game. Little scrap in that game there, boy.
Little fisticuffs.
I don't know who was taking those photos, but boy, they got some good shots, kind of old school. You don't see fights in hockey anymore, guys.
They probably took those pictures on a nice phone that they got from somebody I know. I just that out there.
Yes, indeed. Fighting in hockey, Todd, yes or no?
Yes, I agree.
Necessary evil.
Yes, indeed. And the Indians again will be on the road at the Honey Baked Invitational this weekend. I forgot to mention the Sioux Thunderbirds. They also win both their games this past weekend. They win at Blind River on Saturday by the score of 3-1, and then yesterday afternoon defeating Espanola at home by the score of 7-2. Robert Calisti had a pair of goals for the T-Birds. Now the T-Birds will be at Rayside Balfour on Thursday. Laker hockey at home this weekend. They split against Alaska, losing on Friday night by the score of 5-3, and then defeating Alaska on Saturday night by the score of 4-1. So the Lakers now 4-8-3 on the season. They were in last place, actually, after that last Friday. They're up to 7th. But they have a couple tough weekends, gentlemen. They take on Minnesota State this weekend at the Taffy-Able Arena, and then they'll be at Michigan Tech. And so it's getting kind of tough for the Lakers. They're down in the standings. They're going to have to try to win some of these games against some of their better opponents if they're going to climb the standings and get in the playoffs. Absolutely. Moving on to Laker men's and women's basketball. We'll save the women's basketball for their assistant coach who will join us at 6:30, but the men had a successful weekend at home, defeating Ashland by the score of 82-73 on Thursday. That Ashland team, one that knocked them out of the playoffs last year. And then on Saturday, the Lakers defeat the Tiffin Dragons by the score of 80-67 to improve to 7-1 on the season, as they were led by Michael Nicholson, who had a season-high 22 points for the Lakers. Our own Lance Monroe, broadcast engineer on most nights, or some nights I should say, part of that Lakers squad, as the Lakers will be on the road traveling to Saginaw Valley on Thursday and then Northwood on Saturday. Gentlemen, have you had a chance to catch any Laker basketball action this year?
No, my children and wife caught the exhibition game, and they love going to the games. I couldn't make it.
Kids get in free this year.
Oh, geez. Unbelievable, especially getting to know the game, understand the game at a high level. Seeing that in Sault Ste. Marie is very important to me personally. So absolutely, and wonderful team, a great view, just like our Brimley Bays will be this year.
Absolutely. EJ, you're going to be to the Bud Cooper Gymnasium at all here for some Laker basketball? We'll have to get you up there pretty soon.
I think I got to go see Lance play.
Yeah.
I think we got to see our boy, Eagle 95 boy, put some buckets in.
In a couple weeks, they play Ferris State. That will be the game to go to.
That'll be a good one.
Indeed, I think we need to make a road trip, which isn't too far. It's up the hill, but
I'm all for it. I really wish I would have gotten a chance to see Ashland because I had some friends that went to college here. But, yeah, I'm all for going to Ferris State.
We're going to take our first break on the game. EJ is going to go enjoy some good appetizers here at the Wicked Sister. We'll keep Todd with us for the next segment as we will be interviewing the head coach. You'll be back in the next segment, EJ. We'll be interviewing Brimley Bays head basketball coach for the boys, Matt Bathy, talking about this year's Brimley Bays, which you can hear right here on Eagle 95.1. We'll be back from the Wicked Sister in a moment.
Get wicked at the Wicked Sister. You'll find the best tasting food for the whole family. Start off with some appetizers like the crab dip, served with warm non-bread strips and soft pretzel bites, or their antibiotic and hormone-free boneless chicken wings with 5 choices of sauces. Entrees include the barbecue pulled pork sandwich, the #1 selling drunken cow burger, or Philly cheesesteaks, and they're on special all day Thursdays. The Wicked Sister also offers a gluten-free menu and catering. Bring the whole family. The Wicked Sister, downtown Ashman Street, open 7 days a week.
Let's get back to the local sports talk on The Game, live from the Wicked Sister on Eagle 95.1.
Welcome back to the game on Eagle 95.1. Scott Nason along with Todd Olmstead broadcasting live from the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street on this very damp and wet Monday night. And the Wicked Sister, they are going to have a very fun and interesting event coming up on January 25th. It's the Beer versus Cider Dinner with shorts and star-cut ciders tickets available. Now this dinner again will be on January 25th, which is a Thursday. Cost is $40 per ticket, which includes a 4-course dinner paired with 4 beers and 4 ciders. A great Christmas gift for the beer lover in your life. And we are joined by a basketball lover, although he does love many things, including beer, Matt Bathy, head coach of the Brimley Bays boys basketball team, joining us on the game. Matt, good to see you back again.
It's good to see you guys.
And Todd, we are getting ready for Brimley Bays basketball. The boys will open up their season Tuesday night in Onaway, I believe, as we'll have the girls game that night, and then we'll be in Cedarville on Thursday to broadcast the Cedarville Brimley boys game. Matt, kind of set the stage for us as far as this year's squad. You have a lot of returning players from last year, some high expectations, a lot of talent. As a coach, where you're at right now, what are you looking forward to this season?
Well, we got everybody back, basically. We lost John Lufkin's graduation. We got 13 kids out. Marcus is hurt, of course. And then we're 12 deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and you'll roll most of those guys out, won't you?
Pretty much. Yep, pretty much. I mean, depending on who's performing. We set a lineup up on Friday. I let them know who's starting the first game, and I told them, I said, we're probably going to have 20 different lineups. And some of them, I mean, they're so competitive. They a few of them were upset, a little bit, and you could tell, and they expected to start, but all 12 of them expected to start.
Sure.
So it's kind of a good problem to have, but it's the first time that I've been in this situation where we're actually legitimately deep.
And Todd, you and I have done the games here the past few seasons. We've seen a lot of these guys now that are, upper class, and we've seen them first. A lot of times when we're setting up for the broadcast on the JV, we've seen a very successful JV program over the years. There's a lot of talent right now in Brimley, isn't there?
Writing's been on the wall for a couple of years. In fact, Coach and I talked a couple of weeks ago about that opportunity this year, and it brings excitement. It brings juice to the area. It's not every year you have an opportunity to view a team that's 112 deep. I'm interested to see the coaching style that Coach is going to lay out there. I'd love to see him do like a run and gun, like just let's work hard, let's if you're man enough, if you can step up to the plate, go ahead and try. And I think with a gang like 12 deep, wow, incredible. And those players, the writing was on the wall, like you said. The undefeated JV teams, the skilled underclassmen and upperclassmen that we used to talk about 2 years ago. Can you imagine, like off the air, what it's going to be like in a couple years?
Sure, and we're here.
And here we are.
We're finally here. I mean, I have 8 seniors, and 4 of them were brought up as freshmen, and they've been up ever since.
Now, who are the seniors this year, Coach? I know you don't have a roster, but you know who they are.
Yep, we have Dante Capelli, Nate Rekla, both hoppers, Jake and Sam, Josh Gross, Caleb Johansson, Brendan Shornack, and who am I missing here?
Tristan?
Sean Hill.
There's Sean Hill, yeah.
Yep, Sean Hill.
Tristan's a junior, right?
Tristan's a junior, yep. We have the juniors. We have Marcus, Tristan, Dylan Carrick, Hunter Lippanen, and we have Zach Gross, a sophomore still.
Yeah.
So I mean we're tall, we're long, we're fast.
You got some dunkers, Coach?
Yeah, we got a few.
There we go.
Yeah, we got a few.
For all you listeners, that's admission alone.
Yep. I mean, it's fun. Practices have been really, really competitive. Even tonight, it was just competitive. We're going at each other. It was really, really tough to pick the starting 5. And by no means, I looked at last year's film of Onaway, and we kind of went with a little game plan for tomorrow, assuming they have the same kids we think they're going to have, and we went a little bit small but long, and we're going to do a lot of pressing, a lot of trapping tomorrow night and see how it goes.
Matt Bathy joining us on the game, head coach of the Brimley Bays boys basketball team. Once again, we are your home for Brimley Bays basketball. We will have 20 boys and girls broadcasts, including the first broadcast for the boys Thursday night in Cedarville. Now, you never want to look ahead too much to that game, Coach. I know you're focused on Onaway, but boy, that's an early test against Cedarville, one of, if not your biggest rival. I mean, obviously you're not looking ahead, but you're looking ahead maybe a little bit.
It's like the Big Ten now. I mean, we're getting into conference play, 2 games, second game of the year.
Yeah.
And right after that, we have Newbury and Ingenine.
Yeah.
So
next week, yeah.
We have, after tonight's practice, we have 6 practices and 6 games before break.
Yeah, you're pretty loaded up the first half of the year, kind of like it was last year, though, too, I think.
Yeah, do
you like that as a coach?
No, I'd rather have 4.
Sure.
I think I like 4 before the break. Couple teams, aren't the great. Like Mackinac City's not too nothing much, and then so it's kind of like having 4 games, but we're getting 3 conference games out of the first 6. And I don't really like that, especially with the kind of team that I have. I don't know who's gonna step up. I really don't know yet, because practices have been just crazy. These kids are going at each other, and I mean they're just so even. It's not. I told the kids when I set the starting lineup the other night, I said, we're in a rare situation where our second 5 could start on most teams in this area.
Yeah, I was going to say, do any other coaches, maybe Sioux High might have it because of numbers, but do any other of the DC schools even have that issue, which really is an issue? It's a blessing.
It is, as long as the kids buy into it, and know that their time's they're going to get their shots and get their chances. But, it's going to be fun. They're looking forward. They're just they want to get on the bus right now. Today at practice they were just ready. They want to go.
Now, Todd, you played basketball. You played against these schools, the Cedarvilles. You played for Detour, Pickford, Brimley. Any year, any generation, you still have those built-in rivalries, don't you, with a lot of those schools?
Yeah, or they'll make them with you.
Right.
If you're a good team, they'll come and try to make them with you. I know Cedarville, Brimley has been last few years. Pickford get in the mix. Brimley this year. Brimley is the team that you want to try to build a rivalry with. It helps coach's program. It helps the student athlete. But more than anything, it's just going out there and showing. Even like tomorrow night, being able to go downstate, showcase to a regional opportunity, have them come back to school the next day or go back to the coffee table at the local diners and talk about how great that Brimley team was last night, who didn't maybe play their best game. And I know coach will probably say that we didn't play our best game, but it might be a great game.
The Onaway has been really, really good program the last few years, and I don't know what to expect. They beat us last year,
right?
And we didn't play very well, but they think they got most guys back. I think they might have lost 1, maybe 2, but they're going to be tough. They have a good program, good coach. And then I hope the boys aren't looking. They said it a couple times today, and I shut it down, but they talked about Cedarville, and let's just wait till Thursday.
You have some players that you could replace if somebody's not focused, without thinking twice.
And we've been really stressing that. I mean, if you're not performing, it's next man up. It's next man up, and hopefully we can find one of those 12 that do something.
Coach, looking at your schedule, you do play Sioux High at home this year on February 6th. Pretty much all your opponents are the same. I do notice one opponent that is different. I want to make sure I have the schedule correct. The Flint International Academy. Are they still coming up on January 6th? Now, how did you set that up? Because was that a late addition?
Nope. We started that last year.
Okay.
They were coming up and playing Cedarville on Friday and Detour on Saturday.
Right.
Detour's been down a little bit, and so they decided that they were going to add us instead. Last year we scrimmaged them.
Right.
And then this year we're adding them on our schedule. So they'll play Cedarville the Friday night, and they're playing us on Saturday afternoon.
And you've had some scrimmages this summer with some pretty impressive results. Kind of, tell our listeners about how some of those went.
Yeah, we had a really, really, really good summer. We got second at the Lake State camp here. Lost to a great Manton team who's probably going to be in the semifinals.
They're usually
Class
pretty
C.
good. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And then we went up west and we went to Kearney Nadu Bark River and we really, really played well. We lost in the championship game to a tough Iron Mountain team, but we beat some big schools. We beat Gladstone, who's probably gonna maybe quarterfinals Class B this year.
Good
I'm
team,
thinking, yeah. And they're tough and we really showed some East End stuff over there this year, and they took note.
That's good to see. Todd, do you have any more questions for Coach Bathy before we get to the final couple?
I do. I wanted, just as a personal comparison, your days of playing, the teams that you were on, late 80s, early 90s. And give us a little bit of comparison for the folks at home that remember those teams, that listen to the radio because those teams, and visited the gymnasium because those teams were special. Give us some comparisons and some non-comparisons.
Did they have the three-point line when you played, Matt?
They did.
Okay,
They
just
did.
checking there.
They did. We
sure.
don't go far as back as you, but we're close. But it's tough to compare those teams. I think it's a different style of basketball mainly, but our team this year reminds me a lot of previous years. We don't have the P.J. Jones, of course, or the Kevin Sutton, but we have kids that can rival that comparatively, with that, but just our team's going to look a lot similar to those teams from Brimley in the early 90s, where we're doing a lot of pressure, we're playing a lot more aggressive because we have the bodies to do it, and we can afford to get in a little bit of foul trouble, and that's what's going to really, really be the difference for us. Our defense, and we've put so much effort in our defense early this season, and we're just looking really, really good defensively.
Matt, final question for you before we let you go. Goals for the season. I don't think I'm going too far on a limb to say you want to win districts and advance in the playoffs. What are your goals for this season?
Well, our goal is to make the quarterfinals.
Okay.
That's what we want to do. The boys think we can do it. I think we could do it. We're gonna have to play when we get down there. Like you said, I heard you say earlier, you can lose 20 games and still make the finals. High school basketball. We're looking at this season, the regular season, just as practice. We want to win, of course. We're going to try to win every single game we can, but we got the mindset that as long as we're getting better, no matter what happens, we're gonna take it. We're gonna just keep moving on. If we can win district finals, and we've been in district finals five out of the last 6 years, we made it to the championship game.
Right.
If we can get over that hump this year, I like our chances in regionals, and if we can get up there, we're going to play a team we played this summer.
Very good. Todd, you and I are going to be covering the games here. We'll start Thursday night in Cedarville. A couple games next week. It's that time, my friend. It's December. It's time for high school basketball.
Excited, man.
Matt Bathy.
We need some snow, Coach.
Nah, we don't need that. Matt Bathy joining us here on the game at the Wicked Sister. Matt, thanks for making the drive in, and we will talk to you Thursday pregame in Cedarville. Best of luck tomorrow night in Ottawa.
Thank you. We'll be there.
Best wishes, Coach.
We're looking forward to covering the season all year long on your home for the Bays, Eagle 95.1. We're going to take a break here on the game. When we come back, we're going to talk Laker women's basketball with one of their assistant coaches, Deion Parker. She'll join us next on the game here on Eagle 95.1.
The Wicked Sister, Sioux, Michigan. Check TripAdvisor, ranked right towards the top. Awarded the Certificate of Excellence, as well as voted #1 pub in the UP. The Wicked Sister has managed to create a casual menu that offers unique, creative, and sometimes healthy offerings that rivals menu selections of any big city. Burgers and starters, snacks and shareables, soups and salads, sandwiches and tapas. On Ashman Street, Sioux, Michigan. Welcome to the Wicked Sister, where you'll be treated like family, whether you like it or not.
Let's get back to the local sports talk on The Game, live from the Wicked Sister on Eagle 95.1.
Welcome back to The Game on Eagle 95.1. Scott Nason along with E.J. Russell back at the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street on this Monday night, December 4th. Want to thank Todd Olmsted for joining us here in Hour 1. Also want to thank our guest, Matt Bathy, head coach of the Brimley Bays, and we'll have Butch Davis coming up around 6:45 from the Telegram News and Butch on Sports talking about the Detroit sports scene. But we are joined here at the Wicked Sister talking Lake State women's basketball with one of their assistant coaches and the JV head coach for the Lakers, Deion Parker, making her first appearance on The Game. Deion, thanks for coming in. Well, let's try that again. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you have to turn on. I'm trying to give her instructions on the headset, and I don't even turn on her microphone.
We'll get her there.
Now, Deion, you are in your first season here at Lake State as one of the assistant coaches and the JV head coach. And first question I have for you is give our listeners a little bit on your background as far as places you've coached and some of your basketball experience. And secondly, what brought you up way up north to where you're from as you were at Coastal Carolina in your last venture? What brought you to Sault Ste. Marie?
I just recently graduated from Coastal Carolina, so this is my first coaching experience. So I'm very excited and blessed. Just family friend who's also a coach said, hey, Lake State's looking for a coach, shoot the coach like your resume and stuff, and I was like, okay. And then I ended up here, and I like it. The Sioux's nice.
Did you know that there was an Upper Peninsula in Michigan?
I did not.
Oh,
no.
wow. Okay. I figured I'd ask that. I figured that was a pertinent question.
This is my first time ever in Michigan.
So when you saw Lake State, your first thinking is, well, where the heck is this place?
Yes.
And then they say Sault Ste. Marie, they're like, well, where the heck is this place? And there's a peninsula there, so I'm good there. Now, some of your previous coaching experience, you said you graduated from Coastal Carolina. Yeah. I know you coached, I believe, some high school basketball. Give our listeners a little bit of your coaching background.
Yes, I actually coach middle school boys.
Okay.
And
oh, boy.
Yeah.
There you go.
My son's in that group.
Yeah. So it was very interesting, to say the least, but I liked it, and that's how I started getting coaching. I like having an impact on kids.
And now you played basketball as well, I would assume?
Yes.
And what was the high school you played for?
Sacred Heart. It's in Connecticut, Waterbury, Connecticut.
And which position did you play?
Everything in high school.
Okay, yeah, pretty much.
I was pretty tall in high school, so
you
got to do whatever.
So you're still pretty tall now. I mean,
yeah,
you're taller than I am.
Tall as us. But so you're in Connecticut, and then how did you get to Coastal Carolina?
I just loved it. My family, we had family vacations in Myrtle Beach all the time. So
it's South Carolina.
Yes.
Okay.
Beautiful down there.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Never been there.
It's great.
So it was very nice. Different from here, obviously. No snow.
Mm-hmm. Hey, no snow in December. You got to like that.
Yes.
EJ, do you have any questions for Coach Parker?
My question for you here, and we're just going to kind of keep it pretty vague, so feel free to say whatever you want. What about coaching excites you the most? What is it? Is it the reward of winning games? Is it the reward of developing players? Is it the reward of developing people? What is it about coaching that interests you, and what do you think you can help this Lake State team do?
My dad was a coach, and just seeing him and the impact he had in his boys really inspired me. And just being a player and the impact your coaches have, like I could still call my high school coach and ask him for anything, and he'll always be there. So I think it's just the relationships and, being in somebody's corner. Everybody needs somebody.
Now, as far as coaching goes, there are a lot of different styles of coaching. I've had coaches that were a bad cop. I've had coaches that tried to be your best friend. I've had coaches that were the father figure. What kind of coach do you try to be, and what do you think is the one thing that, when your players come to you, is the one thing that makes you better than most?
I think I want to have that balance with my players, to be professional but yet be a friend, where they feel comfortable coming and talk to me, having an open door policy, and trusting me, but also not drawing the line as well.
Deion Parker joining us here at the Wicked Sister on the Game, assistant coach and JV head coach of the Lake Superior State University women's team. We'll get to the games in a moment, Coach, but, your specific roles as far as being one of the assistants and also the junior varsity coach. I mean, you kind of wear a lot of different hats. What are some of the things that you do for both teams? Obviously, the head coach being for the JV, but what are some of the aspects of the varsity team that you are responsible for?
Just helping with scouting and watching film, making sure our practice times are available in the gym, just little stuff like that around the office as well.
Now, is game film now readily available and shared? Back in the days where, you had to ship video cassettes, I mean, is everything pretty much online right now as far as scouting from the other schools?
Yes, it's synergy technology, so everyone has access, all coaches as well, so you just upload the games and it's all there for you.
So speaking of the games, Coach, the Lakers were in action this weekend at home, taking on a very tough Ashland team on Thursday. Your first chance to see them, defending national champs, and after the first half, Lakers were pretty competitive, but Ashland's experience and talent really showed through in the second half, winning that game. Thoughts on that first game? I mean, the Lakers, you guys were there the first half, but Ashland's just really good, aren't they?
For sure. Ashland is a great team. It was a great opportunity to finally see them play. I thought our girls did pretty good in the first half. They held their own, but like you said, more experienced, and, we grew a lot in that game, to say the least.
And then on Saturday, the Lakers take on the Tiffin Dragons. 10-point affair. Actually, that game a little closer than the score because I believe you guys had it down to about 1 point there in the fourth quarter late, but the Dragons had a late run to win. So the Lakers right now 0-6. You guys will be on the road at Saginaw Valley and Northwood. Now, this is a Laker team that is definitely rebuilding as far as, previous seasons with head coach Brandon Locke. And I guess the next question I have for your coach is, how have you liked working with Coach Locken so far?
He's great. I love him. Yeah, he gets along with the girls well. I respect him. He has a lot of experience basketball, so I'm enjoying learning from him.
He's a passionate guy, too. We had him in here a few weeks ago, and it was nice,
Good conversation, too.
Very good conversation, and, somebody that's, coached with the men's team, which has had a lot of success. I think he brings that winning attitude and spirit to the women's. And while, there haven't been any wins as far as, your experience with them so far, have you seen some things that are good that will get those wins down the road?
Yes, for sure. I think each day the girls are becoming more and more confident with each other and playing. So definitely just day by day, game by game, we're learning a lot, life lessons, everything, and I really feel like wins are going to come soon for us.
And the one thing here is, obviously, any team wants to get up to a good start, and unfortunately for you guys, that doesn't seem to have happened. So what's the one thing that you think this team needs to do going forward in order to turn that 0 into a 1 here?
I think the girls just have to keep remembering that is a process. We do have a lot of games. It's still early in the season, so if we do what we are supposed to do each game and get our goals, the wins will take care of themselves.
And kind of playing off that you say you guys have goals as a team, what are the Lake State women's goals this year?
Just being the best team that we can be, going out and effort. That's all we ask for, is just give your best 100% every time.
A lot of new faces in the athletic department, Deion, as far as, starting from the athletic director, Dr. David Pateson, who we've had on a couple times here. You being new, having Dr. Pateson new, your other assistant coaches new. I mean, do you think the new blood is a good thing as far as what's going on at Lake State to try to kind of reinvigorate a program that's been down but has had success in the past? You feel this is a direction that's in the right step?
For sure. I think the newer the better. Everyone has great ideas, and I'm just excited to see where it goes.
And you guys hit the road this weekend, taking on Saginaw Valley and Northwood. Now, you mentioned you've had to see some film and scouting. Those are always two tough teams as far as, teams that the Lakers play. What do you know about either opponent?
I just know that they're both good. They like to run, so we just have to be good in transition. But hopefully the girls give us 100%, and we'll see what happens.
Now, you being from Connecticut, I would assume, maybe I'm under a wrong assumption here, but maybe you've been around and seen the UConn women's team. I've heard they're pretty good. Now, is that your, obviously, Division I?
Yes, I am a Husky till the day I die.
I mean, boy, just the way that program has, just literally put a lock, except last year, and they did lose to Mississippi State, I believe. But, being around that, even just as a fan, winning breeds winning, and what do they do so right at UConn? besides win and have a great coach and get the best talent?
Yeah.
I think I covered it, EJ. I think I answered my own question.
We all, I mean, I don't know if you and I have talked about this, Dion, but you know how I feel about UConn women's basketball.
Oh, come on. Oh, boy.
They're ruining women's
There we
college
go.
basketball.
Oh.
How can you take a team? It's impossible, and this is where I feel bad for a lot of other universities. Is how do you try to recruit with a team that all Gino REM has to do is walk into a house and go, hey, you want to win the national championship? You want to go to the WNBA? Come see me. How can you compete with that?
Mississippi State didn't have a problem last year.
The first team in how long, Scott? How many games?
They haven't won 10 in a row.
Over
They've
100
won,
games.
You know, then it makes that even more. We're debating ourselves.
Either way, we
gotta
digress.
Yeah, absolutely. One more question for you, Coach. Mentioning your head coaching of the junior varsity, how is that working this year? Have they started practice, and how many games do you play, and who do you play?
We play about 10 games max, mostly against other community colleges and other JV along the area. In the UP, not too far away. But.
Now, can any of these players go up to the varsity at any point, like in high school, or is it a separate thing and your varsity set? I mean, you have a big roster as far as varsity. Can any advance?
Is there like a red shirt rule or something like that?
JV, for the most part, is separate from a varsity, but if a girl is really good, there is a possibility that she can move up.
No, if this individual crosses up into the varsity level, can she go back to the JV? Or is it once you're up, you're up?
I don't really know because we haven't had that situation yet. So
Dion Parker joining us here on the game, assistant coach and JV head coach for the women's basketball. Dion, thanks for coming in. Very nice to meet you, and maybe we'll talk to you later on this season. Maybe we'll talk UConn again, get you in our debate there as far as how they are good for women's basketball.
Yes,
not bad.
I am definitely pro Huskies.
There you go. Well, Dion, thanks for joining us, and best of luck this week on the road.
I have one last question.
All right, go ahead.
And I know we've talked about this before. You got a nice warm coat, right?
Yes, I do.
All right, welcome to the Wild North.
That's right. We'll be back with Butch Davis from the Telegram News coming up in our final segment of Hour 1 here on Eagle 95.1.
Get wicked at Wicked Sister. You'll find the best tasting food for you and your family. Start off with some wicked appetizers like the crab dip, served with soft pretzel bites and warm non-bread strips, and delicious boneless chicken wings that are antibiotic and hormone-free with 5 choices of sauces. Try the barbecue pulled pork sandwich or the #1 selling drunken cow burger and the chicken caprese flatbread. Check out the Wicked Sister gluten-free menu and catering. The Wicked Sister, downtown Ashman Street, 7 days a week.
Let's get back to the local sports talk on The Game. Live from the Wicked Sister on Eagle 95.1.
Welcome back to the game on Eagle 95.1. Scott Nason broadcasting from the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street on this rainy Monday night, the first Saturday in December. And the Wicked Sister, they have a give a little, get a little holiday promotion going on. If you purchase a $25 gift card, you will receive a free Wicked Sister pint glass. And if you come down to the Wicked Sister tonight, you can get $1 off of draft pints every Monday night. Our broadcast engineer tonight, Katie Woolen, back in the Eagle 95.1 studios. The full 2-hour version of the game, which includes the second hour, Sports Roundtable and Thumbs Up, Thumbs Down, is available later on tonight on the podcast page, snason.podomatic.com. And we are joined by our final guest in Hour 1, Butch Davis from the Telegram News and Butch on Sports, who joins us each and every week to examine the sports scene in Metro Detroit. Butch, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fine. How yourself?
I am doing wonderful. And, well, Butch, boy, I don't know where to start in the world of Detroit sports, but I guess we got to start with the Detroit Lions as, well, they tried to implode the Pontiac Silverdome yesterday and failed. Apparently part of that implosion happened today, but we saw another implosion in Baltimore as the Detroit Lions fell to the Baltimore Ravens by the score of 44-20 to drop to 6-6 on the season. Butch, I know you got a lot to say about this game and what's going on, so Butch, the floor is yours.
I wish I had a whole heck of a lot to say. It's been the same old song and dance I've been saying about the last 2 or 3 weeks here. Matthew Stafford holding the ball too long. And end up getting chewed up in the cycle of it. The Lions starting slow, not getting in there, doing business. The coaching staff taking responsibility and not doing a very good job, in coaching your players and whatnot. All of it has a lot to do with basically why they're doing what they're doing right now. That's losing games here. Last year at this time, if you can remember, the Lions were 9-4,
Wow.
and managed to spin off a humongous amount of losses there to get out of not so much get out of the playoffs, but to prevent themselves from winning first place. Now this year they're just trying to get in the playoffs, and sad as it seems, it don't look like 10 games will get you in the playoffs due to the tremendous work the Lions are doing and losing to other teams. And when they get down to the pedal to the metal, the losses that they have against Atlanta and other teams, they're just not going to shine.
Yeah, Butch, and going back to that game on yesterday, they get down 20-0. We've seen that time and time again over the past few weeks, and then it's 20-14. They make a little bit of a comeback, and then Baltimore has a third down. I believe it was a 3rd and 7, and the Lions didn't have too many men on the field. They had 9 men on the field. And, these are just one of these things that the Lions, yes, other teams seem to do it, but the Lions just seem to be doing this week in and week out. At some point, what has to change?
Well, this is the second week in a row that they've had a shortage of men on the field. Again, if the coaching staff is doing their job, and at least, and let's not just say the coaching staff, let's say the people on the field here, okay? You're looking at the defense, so basically, what about Glover Twin, counting the members on their side, okay? Just seeing that they only got 9 men, calling timeout and getting it all straightened out. There is no sense of responsibility out there for none of the players right now, which leads me to believe somewhere down the line, there's some dissension in the ranks here. Some of these players, you can't tell me, are not happy, okay, of what they're doing and who they're playing with, okay? And you can tell yesterday after the game, they were very adamant of maybe saying that a lot of blame is due to the coaching staff. But again, one of the players said they play where they're told to play, not necessarily liking what they're playing or liking the plans that the coaching staff picks up there. So again, it immediately tells me somewhere down the line there's some dissension. I said the same thing on the offensive side when it comes down to number 15 of the Detroit Lions. Don't want to mention his name here, but he's been a pain in the rear end all season long because he seems like he's not the heavy there, okay? And he's been that way ever since Calvin Johnson's been gone there. And believe it or not, who's been dropping all the balls? Who's been not been steady? That
Number
same
15.
Number 15. Right, number 15.
Matthew Stafford gets injured in that second half. Butch, I believe a right hand or a thumb injury. Is there any update as far as his status?
At this point in time, it's very badly bruised and whatnot. They're not going to let on if he's going to play or not. I saw the finger yesterday there. It is really in some bad shape, okay? As far as cuts and bruises concerned, you can tell where the cleat marks were on the finger and part of the hand section of Matthew Stafford, which is his throwing hand. This is the same thing last year when he had the problem with his shoulder and whatnot here.
Right.
So again, everything kind of history repeats itself when it comes down to the Lions doing the right thing here. The nice thing, like yesterday, we saw T.O. Green for the first time, a free agent walking on to the planet here and getting 51 yards on 11 carries. That's the most consistent running that we've had with the Lions in 3 years, okay, as far as average per run there. Everybody else averaged a total of 1.3 yards a carry. That can't happen. So the nice thing been done. You and I have always discussed the best bet, and we can't understand it, is Zach Zenner, okay?
He gets no carries.
And he gets no carries, okay? So why is he being plugged up? Why is it that they get these people, they get some good doggone players who have some heart? I'm not saying ability. I'm just saying some heart, and you don't play him. Zach Rudolph is the same thing. Now, he's going to get his amount of snaps and ballydoos, okay, for the next week here. because of Matthew Stafford's injured hand. But again, you don't give him nothing to work with, and you watch him all preseason, and the young man's outstanding, but yet and still, some of those plays that you can't design for Matthew Stafford because he seems like he does not want to run when he has a full path to run. And why can't you put a Zach Rudolph in there and line him up as a receiver, put him in there as a back, change the pace, some bootlegs here. It's the same old song and dance every single week, and all they do is tee off on him and just kill him, okay? He's not going to survive anyway after the season's over. So, what do you do? Well, I mean, the Lions, and I said this the summer's back, and I hate saying this again. The Lions seem like they love to get your money, and they put all this hype up there on what they're going to do for the season. They make it all so exciting during the draft, and they got this person and that person. But when that crap hits the fan, okay, you end up getting eggs slapped up in your face here because it's the same old song and dance. They lose, and have nothing to show for the general public at large. 60-something years is a long time to be a clown. And people are tired of the clown show here. Either you're going to, you rewarded a coach who basically, simple, and I love Jim Caldwell's attitude yesterday. He took full responsibility for it. But this guy's not running the ball. He's not hiking the ball. He's not playing defense. Come on. Where's the response if the players love him so much? Where's the response from the players to play for him?
Totally agree, Butch, as the Lions will be on the road at Tampa, pretty much needing to win out, and then they still might not make it in at 10-6. Butch, let's move on to the Detroit Pistons. They had kind of a 500 week. They had a big win last Monday, which seems like a long time ago now, at Boston, 118-108. Then they have another big win at home over Phoenix, 131-107. On the weekend, they lose to Washington, 109-91. They lose to Philadelphia on Saturday for the second time this year, 108-103. So the Pistons, 14-8. They're in action later on tonight, taking on the San Antonio Spurs. Thoughts on the Detroit Pistons right now, Butch?
Shooting themselves in the foot one more time here. It seems like they get a good little start here, then all of a sudden they start to go back to the same old song and dance routine here. Again, 2 games that they had this weekend that were very much so winnable. Okay, but discipline again by the Pistons staff, especially on defense, failed them. If you don't play defense in this particular league or in any league per se, you're going to be in a bad situation. And again, this weekend, the Pistons just didn't get it done as far as defense is concerned. You like to speak, you like their effort when it comes down to coming back and what it may be. But again, when the rubber hits the road here, again, they were not successful with 2 games on the road.
The Detroit Red Wings, Butch, did not have a good week at all, going 0-3 as the Wings now losers of 7 in a row, and they really came crashing down on Saturday night, losing to the Montreal Canadiens by the score of 10-1. As the Wings now 10-12-5 on the season, they're going to host first place in the West Winnipeg on Tuesday. Butch, Red Wings, that's about as rough a week as they've had in a long time.
Rough week is an understatement for the Detroit Red Wings. Jeff Blasco showed some emotion this weekend, saying it was embarrassing or whatever. Maybe this whole season's been embarrassing. Okay, so there's nothing new that we're watching and whatnot here. It's going to come down to the point, and I do believe this, where the Red Wings look for a new coach.
I agree.
Okay? And I think it's time that Jeff pack up the wagon and either put up or shut up. But right now, he does not look like a coach that can motivate some players and get them to play their best game. The Montreal game was pathetic, okay? The game before when they played Montreal was pathetic, okay? A shutout game. I mean, you score 1 goal against 16 goals scored against you on a back-to-backer there. That is just totally pathetic here. And right now, the fans, and they wonder how they fill the Little Caesars Arena. They're not going to be able to fill it with those particular losses. and that lackadaisical effort that right now the team is putting up right now. There's something needs to infuse this team, and either the general manager has to get himself together and get himself entrenched in talking to the team and then talking to the coach and getting them to play better hockey there. Well, he needs to go out right now and start looking for another man to take the reins of the Red Wings here.
Butch Davis joining us on the game. Butch, we talked earlier about high school basketball starting last week for the girls, this week for the boys. I know you cover a lot of the games and schools down there. What's your thoughts heading into this season? Always fun to get in the gym and especially to some of the other sports. Get to the pool and see some of the swimming. Get to the rink and see some of these hockey games. I know you're a big proponent of high school sports. Are you excited about this winter season really kicking into full gear?
Well, I stepped in the gym over there at River Rouge High School where Gary Payton, Buddha Edwards, and a whole lot of stars showed on up to pass out turkeys to the city of River Rouge there.
Awesome.
It was a festive occasion, per se. I did not mention that on last Monday's show. I totally slipped my mind there, but it really took everybody by storm. The amount Dave Bing was another one who showed on up. Vinnie Johnson showed on up. It was a cable car full of stars just hanging out in the River Rouge gym to nourish and also to kind of plenish the fans of River Rouge, Michigan there. And it was a treat. Gary Payton, as you know, is a fellow Oregonian, University of Oregon guy there.
Quack, quack.
I gotta say that right now. So I had some time to have some chats and whatnot with him. I remember him way back where in Portland when he was going to University of Oregon. We had some conversation there, and a lot. You hear the messy things on athletes is concerned, but this is a guy who flew all the way in from Oakland, California, to come in there and help people out, have a pleasant Thanksgiving and all that. They gave away 5,000 turkeys.
Wow.
A lot of turkey, gobble in here. You're going to walk down in there with a turkey. You know what I'm saying there?
Good stuff. Butch Davis joining us here at the Wicked Sister for Hour 1. Butch, you're going to be back for Hour 2. Our listeners can hear more of Butch Davis on his podcast of Butch on Sports. You can find that at Simply Butch2, that's TOO.podomatic.com, or find him on Facebook at Butch on Sports. Butch, we'll see you here in a few minutes on Hour 2.
All righty.
Time to play the game. Time to play the game. It's all about the game and how you play it. All about control, and if you can take it, all about your debt. And if you can pay it, it's all about pay. Who's gonna make it?
Welcome back to the game on Eagle 95.1. Scott Nason along with EJ Russell, the Team Wireless Hot Seat, and Todd Olmstead joining us at the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street. Our broadcast engineer tonight, Katie Woolen. Want to thank our guests in Hour 1, Matt Bathy, head coach of the Brimley Bays boys basketball team, and Dion Parker, head coach of the Laker women, or I should say assistant coach of the Laker women's basketball team. We're joined once again by Butch Davis from the Metro Detroit area. And gentlemen, this is the portion of the show. Todd, this being your first. Welcome back, by the way, to Eagle 95.1. After a little bit of a hiatus, you're going to be doing Brimley Bays basketball, some of the games. Are you excited about that?
I am, and jail time has treated me nicely. Thanks so much for the year that I was off. And, no, we're really excited about this year locally, Brimley Bays. And, obviously nationally, too, with Detroit. And it's really cool to have Butch here because in normal situations, we wouldn't be talking to somebody 5+ hours away from us.
And that goes to the game, so.
Yeah,
we're
big
excited.
league.
Well, Todd, this is the part of the show where we kind of open up the floor a bit and talk about the world of sports as far as some of the topics. And so we are going to give you honors, sir, as far as what topic you want to bring up to the round table, as EJ will give you first crack and then Butch. as you guys apparently are plotting and pleading over here as far as games. So, Todd, what is on your mind in the world of sports? What would you like to bring up to tonight's roundtable?
Well, I can't get enough of football. If football was 12 months a year, that would be great. But my ultimate love is baseball. That's the off season. So football right now, obviously Lions landscape, NCAA football, but just the overall scope of the league, how it's shaping out. How it's shaping out with a lot of different things, whether it be coaching situations, watching teams put their backups in to see what they can do for next year. I watch all the games on Sunday like so many of us do, like all the games. I actually watch the games. I see the ineptitude, and I'm really glad that, Detroit Lions aren't as bad as, I mean, it's nice to see the Detroit Lions play the way they're playing now, is in comparison years, and watching some of these teams struggle the way they are.
So you want to open up to the NFL then?
I want to open up the NFL, and misery loves company.
All right, misery loves company. Well, speaking of that, E.J. Russell here at the Team Wireless Hot Seat.
I'll tell you what, if misery loves company, you might as well talk to a Browns fan here.
All right, well, hey, address Todd's issue, and then we'll go to Butch. NFL, misery loves company.
Well, as far as misery goes, what about the Kansas City Chiefs? What's going on?
6-6.
They started off as the hottest football team in the National Football League, and they've really fallen off. And now you got guys like Marcus Peters throwing the referee's flag in the stands. I feel like Andy Reid is losing control of that team, and that's not something that you typically see with a guy like that. So I have a lot of questions for Kansas City, but I want to speak about misery particularly. I want to talk about the Cleveland Browns and Josh Gordon's return to the NFL. And this is really a story of a guy that has gone out and has struggled for a long time with a lot of his own personal demons and has now returned to the NFL years removed and had an 85-yard game. Caught 4 receptions, was targeted over 10 times. But if he had had an accurate quarterback, this is the only player in NFL history that has had multiple 200-yard games in succession. Okay, only player to ever do 200-yard games back-to-back. Could have had a 200-yard game if he had an accurate quarterback. So very excited to see that Josh Gordon came back to the NFL, that he's done well, and that I think that going forward he's going to continue to get better as time goes on. I think that the Cleveland Browns, as far as misery is concerned, we really are struggling. But I do think that we're going to get a win this week because we're playing the Green Bay Packers and Brett Hundley.
Green Bay won last week, though.
And they can. A blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while,
It's interesting you said that about the undefeated, winless type of situation. Walking in the house last night, I was like, wow, the 2008 Lions would beat the pants off this year's Browns team. Am I not?
I don't know, though. And here's the thing.
Hypotheticals.
Those Lions were a bad football team, whereas these Cleveland Browns are not as bad of a football team as people make them out to be.
Yeah, lost 19-10 to a pretty good Chargers team.
Chargers team, and let's look at Josh Gordon, okay, who when he's healthy and gets going, is hands down one of the best talents in the NFL. Went up against those Chargers cornerbacks and secondary, who is touted to be one of the best secondaries in the NFL, and he still put up 85 yards when the whole world knew that everyone was going to go to Josh Gordon as far as the Cleveland Browns offense was concerned. Still put up 85 yards, still had a good game, productive first game back. If you're the Chargers and you're going home this week and you're looking at the film, you need to take that as a loss. You just let a guy who hasn't played football in 2.5 years score 85 yards against you. So Chargers need to take a good hard look at themselves here. I think the Browns did a good job of exposing that secondary and showing that they aren't as good as people think they are. I think the Eagles really showed who they were this week. Yeah, they may not have performed the way that a lot of people thought they were going to, but I still think that they're class of the NFC. I do believe, like Dave said, I think he's hit this right on the money that you're going to see an all-PA Super Bowl. But as far as the misery part of the NFL is concerned, this has been kind of a goofy year where a lot of teams that you don't think were going to do well have ended up being good. Outside of the New England Patriots, really a lot of these division leaders are surprised this year. Look at the New Orleans Saints, a team that you're very much all about here, Scotty, that have been playing very well with a guy like Alvin Kamara, who is just getting yards after yards after yards, has really done a good job of stepping into that secondary running back role behind Mark Ingram after they've removed Adrian Peterson. I think the Saints are for real. Now they got sole possession of the NFC South. I think they're a team that a lot of people didn't expect to be here and are overperforming. But I know we talked about this in past weeks. I really am surprised at the performance of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And that's a team that they added a lot of talent this year. They still got a guy on the defensive line named Gerald McCoy, who's arguably one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL. Really have been underperforming. Outside of them, really nothing's been miserable. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo went out and got a win this week, which was great for them.
Robbie Gould comes back, 5 field goals.
The Niners looked okay this week. And I think that they've got something to build off of. But as far as misery concerned, I think that my boys in brown have that on lockdown.
Let's get to Butch Davis here. Butch, we talked about the Lions' misery this past weekend. Address Todd's subject, NFL, misery loves company, and just in general.
EJ, what's your problem with Kaiser there?
What's my problem with Kaiser is that he's thrown so many interceptions. I understand that he's a young quarterback and that he still needs time to develop. But the interception issue, he targeted, I don't know if I remember this correctly, but somewhere between 11 and 15 times he targeted Josh Gordon and only made 4 receptions. If he had connected with him on more passes, Josh Gordon could have went over 200 yards. And look, this is a guy that hasn't played football since 2014 and was still able to go on and make big plays for the team. If Kaiser was accurate, maybe the Browns win that football game like they beat the Chargers last year, but they actually go out and win the game versus the Chargers losing it. But Kaiser is inaccurate. I understand that he needs time to develop, but when is enough enough?
Let's go to Butch. Butch, your thoughts?
You know what? You're an ungrateful little guy here. You know what I'm saying? You guys have a very good quarterback. And once he gets the time and the effort spent in there and get the reps and look at some of the mistakes that are being made and turn them around, you look at Wentz, you look at the young man down there in L.A. right now, the Rams. This guy's going to be fantastic for you. If we had Kaiser to do what Stafford cannot do you think the Lions would be right now in misery? No, they would not. This guy, you have a quarterback that gives everyone something to look forward to. I'm not saying everything is peaches and cream. I think a lot of his problems is the talent around him. You can't throw a ball 50 times to Josh Gordon because he's probably going to be doubled down in the first place. And some of the catches he made yesterday, which I exclusively watched that game from beginning to end, were fantastic catches there, okay? Let's not mistake it. Let's hip hooray for Mr. Gordon and what he did yesterday coming back and what he's going to face for the near future right now. Because his battle has just started here. But again, the Browns are not looking all that bad. I looked at the Browns as a very talented team right now that is undernourished. They get some good veterans on that team and some pieces in place. The Browns are going to be a very good football team. Let's not put them in the gutter here right now because I watched them against the Lions and I also watched them against the Chargers yesterday. That was a very competitive game. Barring that, I enjoyed that game more than I enjoyed the Lions, okay? And I'm not sitting up there being favoritistic about the Lions because they look like dirt, okay? And they did show some efforts of coming back there. But again, the Browns look pretty doggone good. Now, as far as the NFL is concerned and what we got to see, I think everything is almost set. But the kitchen that's the NFC South. And we can practically say the Minnesota Vikings already got the North already wrapped up there. Right now, everything is changing its head. Kansas City, Andy Reid had the same problem in Philadelphia, okay? And if you can remember far enough that he would get these tremendous leads in the standings there and end up Dallas or New York or Washington would come back and haunt him. The same thing's going on in Kansas City there. It's mistakenly so. Right now, they got a team right now that you got all these 6-6 teams in that Western Division. It's going to be great when it comes down to the last game of the season when Oakland plays the Chargers there, if the Chargers continue to win, okay? LA got 2 teams right now that basically might be in the playoffs there. So this is a season right now full of ifs and skips. The Atlanta Falcons lose yesterday, but again, they play, I think, the Saints twice now. They'll play them starting Thursday, and they'll play them during the end of the season. So everything is now all really wrapped up there. And, let's thank the team who beat the Atlanta Falcons yesterday because the Lions would be in the creek right now. But then you look at the Green Bay Packers, everybody washed them away here. Aaron Rodgers could be available for the last 2 games of the season, okay? And if that happens, it's going to be some funky things going on as far as playoff ramifications going on there. Green Bay is looking like a little a team that is doing some things pretty well. 85 yards passing and still win the game. Come on, kids there. The Green Bay's playing some rock and sock and football.
Yeah, I'll go next here, guys. I'll address what Todd said here about, the teams that, misery loves company, and you guys talked about a lot of them. One team that I didn't expect maybe would be great, but I didn't expect them to be this bad, Denver. What's going on in Denver? 3-9.
Gone.
I mean, that team is just really hitting the skids, and it'll be interesting to see in the offseason if a one Kirk Cousins may bolt Washington to go to Denver. Just throwing that out there.
Eli Manning.
Or a one Eli Manning.
Eli's not leaving New York.
But I think you address the misery squads as far as the expected ones. Looking at the playoffs and division races, I mean, there's not a lot of division races, to be honest. New England 10-2, they're going to win that division in the East. Pittsburgh 9-2, they're more than likely going to win the North. You have Tennessee and Jacksonville. Not a lot of people talking about those two teams. One of them will make the playoffs. Jacksonville, I think they play Seattle this week. That'll be a good test for them.
Good test for that defense.
Exactly. Tennessee 8-4. You got the AFC West mess as far as a bunch of teams 6-6. Right now, the wild card teams would be Jacksonville and Baltimore. You have the Chargers, Buffalo, Oakland in the mix there. And then in the NFC, Philadelphia didn't have their best game. They were probably due for maybe a tough matchup and a tough place to play Seattle, but they're going to win the North and contend for home field and maybe the best record in the NFC. Philadelphia, they're going to win the NFC East 10-2. They're 4 games ahead as well. NFC South, more than likely going to get 3 teams in the playoffs, New Orleans, Carolina, and Atlanta. And then you have the NFC, well, maybe not, because you have the Seattle Seahawks and the Rams in there. Wild card teams right now in the NFC feature Seattle and Carolina. So, you look at Detroit and Green Bay. Right now, they're 2 games out of the wild card, and then Detroit loses a bunch of tiebreakers against some of those teams. So it's really going to be tough for the Lions to get in the playoffs. Just seeing what happened on Sunday, and just it was an awful game. They looked,
it was ugly.
They looked bad, and this is a team that's won 1 playoff game in 60 years. And, Butch and I addressed it in the first hour.
At least you've won 1.
Well, you've made 3 AFC Championship games, so I don't want to hear about how bad Cleveland's had it, to be quite honest there, EJ. But
your
Todd,
team didn't leave you.
Todd, I'll give you good point. Todd, I'll give you final thoughts on this subject. I mean, NFL. I mean, and I still have friends that are saying I'm not going to watch the NFL because of this, because of that. I always watch the NFL. It's it's fun to watch. It's great football.
It is, and I want to throw a couple of things out there. Andy Reid, EJ touched on him. The best, worst coach in NFL history. Yes or no? I'd like to throw it out to Butch because I think he's like one of the best, but one of the worst. And he's the first guy to say, I'm firing myself. He's the first guy to say, I'm going to take a back seat. It was my fault. That's why he's a player's coach. But at the end of the day, players' coaches don't always win world championships.
Not at all.
And another person,
but he did take the Eagles to the Super Bowl.
He did. Terrell Owens did. And another person I'm real excited about is Sean Payton. I see it in his eyes on the sideline watching that games. He's calling up run plays the way he used to call up pass plays. He's got that juice where it's like I'm sitting back being a mad scientist creating run plays for this awesome backfield where he used to do it for Drew Brees in the running attack. So those are the 2 coaches I can't say enough about this season, and for different reasons.
Butch, let's go to you for the next topic as far as the roundtable. Anything you want to add to Todd's statement before we go to your topic?
I think Todd got right on there on the Andy Reid. Again, I mentioned that he had the same particular situation in Philadelphia and whatnot here. And, he is a player's coach, but again, the man knows how to win, and he knows how to dig himself out of a hole. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how Kansas City, Oakland, and along with the Chargers try to dig themselves out of a hole. Denver, you can kind of like wash them away there, but that's going to be a very exciting division during the end of the season there. I'm going to stay on some football here, and we're going to talk about Eli Manning. Many feel that he was just treated like a slop dog by the New York Giants when they come to him and ask him do you want to keep your streak going? And by the way, you only play the first half. We're going to play Geno Smith the second half there. I have some things to say, but I'm going to wait till after I hear all you guys get your little opinion on it.
AJ, I'll go to you first. Eli Manning benched yesterday. The head coach of the Giants fired today. Geno Smith did not get the job done out in Oakland. Your thoughts to Butch's topic, EJ Russell?
I think that for me, probably more than most people, this hits close to home. And people ask themselves, well, EJ, why is the New York Giants benching Eli Manning hit close to home? Because of a guy named Joe Thomas. This hits close to home. And Joe Thomas had 10,000 consecutive snaps plus played in the NFL before he got hurt. And there's no way that the Browns would have ever sat them. And I think that for the Giants to sit Eli Manning after 210 plus consecutive starts is an absolute travesty. This is a guy that's gone out and he's won 2 Super Bowls for your organization. This is a guy that's gone out and won 2 Super Bowl MVPs for your organization. This is a guy that with Tom Coughlin has gone out and done it for your team. He is a guy that has shown up week in and week out more than anybody else and stood there and said, I am going to play football for this organization. This is a guy that when he even got drafted didn't want to play for the Chargers. You know, he wanted to.
Are you crying like Eli Manning did
No,
yesterday?
I'm hiccuping.
I thought you were crying like Manning on the side.
I'm very passionate.
Holy
okay?
mackerel.
You know what?
The guy's in tears over here.
But you know what? There should be tears shed for the fact that Eli Manning didn't start for the New York Giants last week and that Geno Smith did. Geno Smith went to a New York Jets team that had some talent with guys like Eric Decker and Bilal Palau and Matt Forte and was not able to get the job done. So what made the New York Giants think that with a depleted offense with OBJ missing, with Brandon Marshall missing, with a solid running game missing, why would you put him in with less pieces thinking that he would have more success than a 2-time Super Bowl MVP who has made the tough throws when it matters? I think it's absolutely disgusting that the New York Giants even debated the fact of sitting Eli Manning. I just think that, and this is where it comes back to the Joe Thomas part that I said earlier. This is a guy, and I'm talking about Joe Thomas here for a half second. This is a guy that's dealt with all the bad and is a guy that sits in that organization's locker room and says, I don't want to go to another team because I think there would be something said about winning with this organization. Why would you take away the guy that has had the only 2 good seasons that your team can remember outside of Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick back in the day? And he's won championships for you. Why did you bench him? I just think it wasn't fair to Eli. I think that they're trying to blame him for the team's struggles, but that goes back to my argument that he's missing a lot of pieces. Because when the New York Giants have Odell Beckham Jr. and what they should have had in Brandon Marshall as your number 2, which is a fantastic number 2 to have, and a couple of different pieces that they have at running back, that would have been a playoff team, in my opinion. Because I think that the combination of Odell Beckham Jr. and Brandon Marshall would have been that good this year. You know, barring injuries, I think the New York Giants might have been one of the best offensive football teams in the NFL this year. It's more of a respect thing for me, benching Eli. And I am not at all a fan of any New York sports teams. I know you have heard my opinion of the New York Yankees. I think that they're worse than Al-Qaeda.
Oh, boy.
My top 5 evil organizations in the world are New York Yankees, Los Angeles Lakers, Dallas Cowboys, Al-Qaeda, and then the Green Bay Packers.
We're talking about the Giants and Eli, so let's not get too far off topic.
But that's what I'm saying is that I hate New York sports. And
Strong word.
I know it's a strong word, but I hate New York sports. I think that people overpump that market and expect them to be better than they are because they're New York. And I really don't like the way they try to present themselves, specifically the Yankees and the Giants and the Jets and the Knicks. I don't like them. And to bench Eli Manning was an absolute disgrace. Back to you.
I will take the opposite view, Your Honor, as far as this. This is much ado about absolutely nothing. I mean, my goodness, you want to talk about a situation that got totally blown out of proportion.
He had more starts.
My turn. Giants were 2-9, and I understand there's injuries. I understand there's this and that. But you know what? If you're the coach If it ain't working, you got to try something different. And too often, you've seen a team like the Detroit Lions. They don't try something different. They do the same damn thing, and that's why they've won one playoff game in 60 years. I understand Eli Manning is a great quarterback. Past tense. Maybe not so much. Well, he won 2 Super Bowls. To me, he's a great quarterback in that regard. But this guy crying on the sidelines, I mean, my goodness sakes, you would have think they shot his dog the way he reacted. And the media and the Twitter world and everything else. He's a 2-9 quarterback, and the coach thought, you know what, why not try this other guy? It might work out, it might not. It didn't work out. They lost. They're 2-10. Probably Eli Manning starts, they're probably still 2-10. So the idea of just everything and everybody crying on the sidelines, my goodness sakes in heaven, enough is enough. Much to do about nothing. So there's 2 opposite views. Todd Olmstead, what are your thoughts?
I'm falling right in the middle. I think it is much to do about nothing, and it's a little bit sad in a way. I think in football you keep a man out there if you can because of the longevity. This isn't baseball where we're getting him an at-bat. This is a quarterback starting in the National Football League. Look at Brett Favre. I also look at the fact that the coach...
Thank you for saying that name.
Coach got exactly what he was looking for. I think he wanted to be fired. I think he knew it was hopeless.
Mm-hmm.
This was a seal my fate. Let's take a look at the coach. Coach hasn't scored over 30 points in 28 football games that he's coached for the New York Giants, and that takes him to 11-5 record last year.
With arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL.
Arguably, but looking at the New York scene, I feel the same way EJ does. But we're in this little remote corner of Michigan talking to a gentleman from the Metro Detroit area, and he brought up a topic about New York sports, and specifically Eli Manning. Coach got exactly what he was looking for. He didn't want to take the flight home. He wanted to make this decision, and I heard a story like the second day of this benching. Davis Webb, the third-string quarterback, and Eli were in, probably coach's room 6:30 in the morning. So this time we're getting, and starting quarterback was not even there. Can you imagine that, Butch? Can you imagine the opportunity for a backup like Rudock to get the start? Him and the third-string quarterback are looking at things, and Matthew Stafford nowhere to be found. I mean, I would be appalled to make that type of decision as an individual, especially as a quarterback of a football team. So I'll fall right in the middle. Coach got what he deserved, what was expected. Ownership took care of that. It's unfortunate. I feel for Eli. I feel for that situation, and I'm all about the Iron Man in football. I think it is something special. I think it's more special than Cal Ripken's situation as Brett Favre's.
Wow. Agreed. I agree wholeheartedly.
Any day of the week, and I love baseball. I got into this conversation talking about love baseball more than football. That's really all I'm going to say.
Butch, let's go to you. Lively discussion, great topic. What are your thoughts?
You guys bring up some excellent points. Well, here's the one point that no one of you guys brought up here at all. For a person that you respect so much, why would you want his brains to get beat out knowing that this team is going nowhere this year here? I think they're doing Eli Manning a favor. He can collect his mega bucks. He can sit on the sidelines and get a good laugh at the whole situation here. And don't even have to get touched for the rest of the season. As it stands right now, he's got his brains beat out all season long because he has an undernourished team that he's playing with right now here. I think the New York Giants did him a great favor there because, again, he's a free agent next year here. I don't expect him to come back if the same regime is still there and working as those pieces and parts. Now, we do hear rumors that the general manager is going to leave. We hear rumors that the coach is going to leave. But again, we haven't heard anything that Eli Manning's going to leave. And if I was Eli Manning, I would be looking like places like Denver here right now, who would take him in and with open arms and whatnot, and he would be healthy. More than I can say for his brother, who came off a neck injury here and had to, that was a risky situation, but they still took him. So I think New York did the guy a favor by just letting him stay on the bench and watch this little circus go on for the rest of the season and have a little respect for the guy, not to get his brains beat on out on the field. Why would you want this guy looking like the Spirit of 76 at the end of the season? I don't know. So I'm praising the Giants for not letting this guy go through the misery, okay? For the misery, dilly here, man. Come on.
Dilly, boy, the Spirit of 76. I love that reference.
Don't.
Come on. Hey, we all have different opinions. That's what makes this show so great, is we all come from different perspectives, and we can discuss.
I can't stand Brett Favre, but it's still a more impressive record.
I know, but here's right. I don't like the Green Bay Packers, okay, because I feel like they're the New York Yankees in the NFL, one of those teams that's always overhyped, okay. I just think that to bench Eli Manning after I believe I'm going to be close on this number, 211 consecutive starts, is just not fair to Eli. That's a guy that's been back there in the good years and the bad. And trust me, they've had good years where they won the Super Bowl, and they've had bad years when they've missed the playoffs. And to do that in the New York market is not an easy thing to do as far as the media aspect is concerned.
Scott Nason, EJ, I'm sorry, EJ, did I cut you off?
No, it's fine. It's just, I just think it really was respectful to the guy that has sat there and done it game after game after game, even when you had your two best receivers and all your good pieces this year fall out, still was willing to stand back there and go, you know what, I'm going to start for this team. I'm going to attempt to quarterback this team. We're going to try our best to win this game, and I'm standing there behind you. And then to bench him for Geno Smith was an absolute disgrace.
Scott Nason, E.J. Russell, Todd Olmsted, and Butch Davis at the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street. And we're halfway through hour 2, and lots going on at the Wicked Sister. We mentioned about their Give a Little, Get a Little holiday promotion. You can receive a free Wicked Sister pint glass for every $25 gift card purchased. Great for that hard-to-shop for shopper for Christmas. As well, coming up on January 25th, which is a Thursday, I'm excited for this one. Beer versus cider dinner with shorts and Star-Cut ciders. Tickets are available now at the Wicked Sister. $40 gets you a 4-course dinner paired with 4 beers and 4 ciders. A great Christmas gift for the beer or cider lover in your life. We'll continue our roundtable discussion, and I will throw out the next topic. Todd, I'll give you first crack, then Butch, then EJ, because I know EJ's probably going to go long. The NCAA football playoff. EJ, I'm turning you down right now so I can get this out. The NCAA football playoff was announced on Sunday, and the top 4 teams, according to the selection committee, were number 1, Clemson, number 2, Oklahoma, number 3, Georgia, and really the one that everybody was talking about, number 4, Alabama. And so Alabama gets in despite not winning their conference, despite not even winning their division. They get in over 2 conference winners, Ohio State and USC. And so we have the playoff set. Clemson will take on Alabama in one semifinal, and you have Oklahoma taking on Georgia in the other semifinal. So, Todd, I'll go to you first. We had a lengthy and spirited debate last week about the expansion of the NCAA playoffs. Many of us said it should. The gentleman that just went to the bathroom said they shouldn't. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the playoff and the 4 teams. Did the committee get it right, in your opinion?
Well, committee, let's take 1991, 1992. What's the difference between then and now? Really nothing. You get 4 teams for the opportunity. This time was an opportunity where it was still voted upon for that 4th spot. Whether you turned it to 8th, people are going to talk about the 8th spot. You could turn it to 16, so on and so forth. I think the committee did it right and justly by taking a look at recency. Don't take a look at bias. Take a look at the quality on the field. They know what's out there. They know Alabama's going to seat a few pros. They understand that quality on the field. They want that what the NFL doesn't have, and that's dynasty. They want what baseball had with dynasty. They don't have a dynasty. Alabama's as closest to a dynasty as they have, and it's a big dark cloud. Like they're the community that no one wants a piece of. Everybody wants a piece.
The
of.
empire.
They're the evil empire.
I Nick disagree Saban with the evil, but that's another story.
Nick Saban has been a fantastic coach and is the best coach in college football.
Absolutely.
I don't really know what to think. College,
do you disagree with the 4 that they picked?
No, of course not. In fact, if you would have put 2 different teams, then I don't think I could really disagree with it because everybody has a legitimate argue. But at the end of the day, you talked about expansion last week. I love the idea.
So do we. Many of us. Butch Davis, the 4 teams that were picked this Sunday, your thoughts on the NCAA playoff coming up here January 1st?
I think the men who will select the selection committee are habitual liars because they're the ones, and correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, they're the ones said that these conference matches or these championships count and mean a whole heck of a lot. Well, we found out they don't, okay? We found out that Ohio State comes back and beats an undefeated Wisconsin team, and for their efforts get absolutely nothing. USC winning their conference, okay? Now, maybe I can see USC, okay? I can see them for where they're at, but at that best, USC should be number 6, okay, instead of Wisconsin there, okay. Uh, I'm not a very big advocate on this particular system. I think right now the best thing they can do right now is just go ahead and play it out. I will not be interested in none of this particular season for who's a championship and who's not, because it's false. Again, we need a expanded playoff system to be had in this particular, so everybody or the teams that are deserving of playing there will get their fair share and and be able to get in the game here. This is a big fat joke. And Alabama playing Mercer before they play their other game, their Iron Bowl game against Auburn, and Auburn beat them. Only Auburn again goes to and gets whipped by Georgia there. That holds volumes in itself. Okay, Georgia gets in, and now you're gonna let Alabama in there too. Come on now, this is not right. They're going to have to expand this thing here, because a lot of people in this nation right now feels, just like I do right now, that expansion is absolutely necessary. Football is just not played only in the South. It's played all around the United States here, okay? And they got to do something about this. If they can do it in Division II and they can do it in Division III, putting up a legit playoff system, they can do it with that. These bowls that they have, the pork and rind bowl and the pinstripe bowl and the dipsy doodleitis bowl and all these other bowls there, half the people won't even show up for them. You can use that bowl system as a playoff mechanism and give some status to them, at least fill up the seats and get more teams to participate with that, only by doing one thing and one thing only: cut the season down to 10 games, leave the next 2 doggone particular weeks for playoff ramifications using the bowl system, and then you'll get some decent people.
E.J. Russell, I know you as a Buckeye fan have a lot to say about this. We've heard from Todd. We've heard from Butch. We're going to give you about 4 minutes tops, because I know you got a lot to say. So your turn on this subject.
Okay, so first off, I want to start this conversation with a deep breath. Everybody, stop.
I'm great. I think it's fantastic, personally.
Number one, I want to start with my first statement, which is I am still, even though my team's number 5, I am still not in favor of expansion.
Okay.
And you and I kind of talked about that earlier. I think it needs a state 4, because when you get beyond that, it's going to be too tough to decide who's who, conference champion, who's the at-large. It's going to become the exact same conversation we're doing now, except that we got to add another week to the schedule, because I don't think that you can cut down college football by a game. Unless you take these 12-team conferences and bring them back down to 10, I just don't think it's practical. Okay? But number one, I want to also state that, 1A. 1A is that I'm not in favor of expansion. 1B is I'm not about to argue why Ohio State should have gotten in. Okay, that's not what I'm going to argue. My team's out. I've come to terms with that. I disagree with the decision, but that's not what I'm going to argue. Okay. My argument here is, how do you justify using last year as the standard? Okay, because this is still a new system. A standard has to be set. And I understand that the committee changes from year to year. But how do you justify putting Alabama in the playoff when they didn't win their conference championship, okay? I understand that last year you did not put Penn State in the playoff, and you chose to go with Ohio State. The circumstances were dramatically different last year, though, whereas Ohio State lost to Penn State in what many people would say was kind of a fluky game. Penn State blocks this, returns it for a touchdown, kind of gets a cheeky win, but beats Ohio State, which was a very good football team last year. Unfortunately, didn't put up any points against Clemson, got shut out in the Fiesta Bowl. My argument to compare last year to this year is Ohio State lost to the Big Ten Conference champion and barely lost, and was And the one thing that you didn't mention, you talk about conference champions, is that if you look at the last line of what the playoff committee looks at, it is other relevant factors, which is pretty much their bailout. Okay? I'm taking a deep breath because I'm trying to not get angry.
2.5 minutes.
That's all I need. That's all I need, Scotty. But my argument here is, how do you reward Alabama, a team that didn't play last week and lost to the team who lost to Georgia, the conference champion? How do you take a team that lost to a team that lost and elevate them into a playoff spot? That's BS, and I'm cleaning up my language, and I'm trying to not get angry here. But the circumstances last year were dramatically different. Ohio State, and I'm not saying, again, I am not arguing that Ohio State should have gotten in. I am arguing, how do you elevate Alabama from the number 5 team in the country to number 4 when they didn't play and they lost their last game to the team that lost to the team that won their conference? They're the third best team in the SEC. Ohio State proved this year that they were the best team in the Big Ten. True or false? Yes? Can we all agree?
Well, they won the Big Ten championship.
Do we all agree
yes.
that Ohio State is the best team in the Big Ten?
Yes.
Can we all agree that
if
Alabama,
Michigan State played in the western half of the Big Ten, they'd win that? Yes, they would.
Auburn should have gone to the playoff before Alabama.
With 3 losses.
In my opinion, if you go with what they did last year, which the precedent was, you lost to the conference champion. Alabama lost to the not a conference champion in the Iron Bowl. And I understand that, yes, that is a rivalry game. And I'll say this, I think that it's terrible that Ohio State didn't get in. Because, yes, they did win the Big Ten championship. But last year when you look at it, most people on paper would say that Ohio State was one of the best 4 teams in the country. And Penn State wasn't there yet. I think Penn State was really close this year. And if Penn State had won the Big Ten, they're in no doubt if they're Ohio State this year. But Ohio State, and this is where the eye test part, the other relevant factors, comes into conversation. Alabama struggled against Mississippi State on the road. Didn't win against Alabama, and then didn't play in the SEC championship. I struggle with the concept of elevating them. And I'm not saying that Ohio State deserves to be in, because you know what? I really don't believe that they're one of the best 4 teams in college football this year. Yes, I'm upset that my team didn't get in the playoff, but that's because of biased personal reasons. I just don't think Alabama deserved the upswing, deserved that push forward. And I think that that's what comes down to the playoff committee and those individuals that make those decisions. I think that to them, Alabama passes the eye test. And that's the part of the playoff committee that I don't like. Because if you did this last year, okay, if you took Michigan, who I think was one of the best college football teams in the country last year, I think they were. I think that Michigan may have deserved that spot a little more than Ohio State last year. Yes, they didn't beat them. It was a close football game. Michigan had a newer coach. But I think Michigan may have performed better against Clemson. And let's be honest here, and I know you don't like when I use this word.
30 seconds.
I hate Michigan. We all know that, okay? I think Michigan might have played Clemson a little bit tighter than my Buckeyes did last year.
Scored a point. Just saying.
Listen, you take that little pullover off.
Michigan State's in. Yeah,
but you're saying this.
We got to wrap this up.
You're saying this from a cocky place wearing that Alabama's script day over there. Okay?
So finish your thought.
I'm just saying that, and I want somebody here to justify how Alabama gets elevated by losing to the team that lost to the conference champion. I don't get it.
And then I will take over here. First of all, it needs to be expanded.
No.
Not my turn. It needs to be expanded. If not 8 teams, which I'm for. I think 8 teams solves a lot of issues. You get 5 of the conference champions in, so you're not going to have the USC, Ohio State argument. You're going to have a team like Central Florida, who's the only undefeated team in all of college football that would get a shot. Am I saying they're going to win? No, but maybe they deserve a shot. Then you have a couple wild card teams, where a team that doesn't win the conference.
You can put the MAC in it?
No, you're not going to put the MAC. But if you have a team go 12-0, then maybe you will. Whoever's best of those non-Power 5 conference teams like that. So that's first. All I can say as far as why they didn't choose Ohio State, that 31-point loss to Iowa and having 2 losses. Every one of those top teams had a bad loss. At Clemson, they lost at Syracuse. That's a bad loss, but that's all they lost by, and they win their conference. You had a lot of bad losses. Oklahoma, they lost at home to Iowa State. but they won their conference, so there's that.
Ohio State won the
Georgia,
conference.
well, yeah, but they had 2 losses. Nobody else had 2 losses, and they had that Iowa loss, which was a horrible loss because none of the teams that have been picked in the playoff ever had a 30-point loss on the road to an unranked team. That's what happened to Ohio State. Not only that, they also lost at home to Oklahoma. So, and granted, Oklahoma is good, but they lost at home, and they weren't even close in that game. So that's my argument. Alabama was in the top spot the entire year. They dropped to 5, and because Wisconsin loses, that drops them down. But Ohio State didn't have that resume that Alabama did with the 1 loss in the best conference in college football that wins national championships because the Big Ten doesn't. So I have no problem. But it needs to be expanded.
But
that's my thought.
Alabama never came off and lost the game after playing the number 2 team in the country, and that's what I think a lot of people need to take into consideration here, is that Ohio State had a lot of hangover because you got your butts geared up and ready to go against Penn State, who at the time was ranked number 2 in the country.
But that's football.
When you go up against a team like that, the number 2 team in the country, you elevate yourself to a different mental preparation, and you work your mind and body to a different state than you ever have before. And to go out the next week on the road and lose that game
by 31 points.
That's like winning a basketball game on championship banner night in the NBA. That's I'll call it holiday hangover. People need to remember that loss to Iowa came on the road after you beat the second best team in the country.
Todd, real quick before we go to Butch for final thoughts.
I was just going to say, and I'm interested to hear what Butch has to say. It basically came down to the Ohio State-Oklahoma game at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's all it did.
Yeah, really
that
did.
was a championship game on week 2, by the way, gentlemen.
Yeah,
I know.
Butch, final thoughts here on this subject.
Ohio State deserved to be in the playoffs, okay? Plain and simple. Alabama does not deserve to be in the playoffs. Plain and simple. Again, we can alleviate all of this. If you can do it in Division II, and this is where you look like egg on your face, EJ. If you can do it in Division II and in Division III, a playoff scenario there, you can do it in Division I. Again, the amount of games you play in college here, which has been expanded. I can remember a time, and I think Scott can too, where the colleges only played 10 games a season, okay? 10 games. Reduce that to 10 games. Use the elevated weeks to maybe put a crossover game in there, such as what we do in high school, okay? If you just want to fill out a schedule, but leave those 2 weeks for playoff ramification. Use the bowl systems as elevating those particular. You can go 8 teams, okay, and to participate in those playoffs, or 10 teams. Use the 2 best teams of the nation in Sault and use them as a bye or at-large team where they don't have to play maybe a week or something of that nature to match everything off. There's ways you can do that. Alabama does not deserve to be in the playoffs this year. Ohio State or USC does, okay? Plain and simple. But again, this is going to all be alleviated by getting the expansion for the playoffs. Period.
Final thought, EJ, real quick.
I think this is the first time that Butch and I have ever agreed on something.
This strongly,
yeah. And I'm not saying that Ohio State should have gotten in. I think Butch and I both agree that Alabama shouldn't. Is that fair?
Well, yeah. Well, you know, we all have different perspectives, and we all come from different points. So
and mine's the only one that matters.
Well, that's debatable. But, EJ, we got time for one quick topic. Todd, I'll give you first shot, and then Butch, what would you like to bring up to the roundtable real quick?
Quick hit NBA talk. What do y'all got to say? Go.
Todd, NBA, we talked about the Pistons in the first hour with Butch. Have you been following much of the association?
Actually, I have the Pistons, but I still can't wait for April.
What's in April? Oh, you're
playoffs,
just
baby.
They stuck on baseball.
I'm being honest. Like that's when the playoff basketball kind of heats up. That's when everything's kind of coming down to the wire.
Come on.
It's exciting. These basketball games midweek will get me through the dark days of winter, along with Michigan hoops.
Well, there you go. Michigan's taking on Ohio State right now, winning. Butch, NBA, we've been focused on the Pistons a lot. We talked about them earlier. What are your thoughts on the NBA season so far?
I like Philadelphia. I like the Orlando Magic and the way they're playing this year. I think some teams are going to come out the wet watch and do a better job. I think the Clippers are going to come out the wet watch and fool a lot of doggone teams at the end of the night there. Also, a team of Denver's caliber, and also maybe Utah. I think we don't look at them too heavy because you don't get to see them much. But again, they're going to be a team that somewhat is going to be reckoned with. Right now, it's very early to tell about the NBA per se there, But normally after the All-Star break and whatever it may be, we'll all be hooping and hollering about NBA in particular.
Yeah, I'll take over. You both addressed some good topics there as far as, the teams that I'm following. The East, I think, is getting a lot more interesting. Granted, having the Pistons a little more competitive helps, but you have Cleveland now, winners of 11 straight.
Who?
You have Boston at 20-4. The Raptors kind of quietly going about their business at 14-7. So maybe the East is a little bit stronger, 1-8 than we've seen in the past years. Out West, Golden State's still doing what Golden State does, but Houston at 18-4 doing well. And, really the disappointment to me is Oklahoma City. I really had a lot of expectations for them. They're 10-12 right now, and not quite getting it going there. But like you both said, it's early. Really, after the All-Star break, you really start paying more attention to the association. But hey, I like having the Pistons competitive, playing fun basketball. They're a little inconsistent. They didn't have a good weekend, but you know what? That game a week ago against Boston, it was nice to see. It brings back that old Pistons-Celtics rivalry. Maybe not quite to where it was, 30 years ago with Bird and McHale and Rodman and Isaiah and Mahorn and just the old school Boston Guards. Those were the days, Todd. You're a little younger than me, but those were the days.
But those were the days. But also, you see the points that the Pistons are scoring. You want to know why they're scoring all those points? It's because Dre's making his free throws. Can you believe that if he could
60%?
Can you believe the point totals they would have had in the last couple of years if he just made his free throws? Unbelievable.
E.J. Russell, thoughts on your topic?
I was going to say, believe them. Can you believe how many points I'd score in men's league if I made all my shots? I never make any. But I think that one of the big conversations that people need to start having in the NBA is about the MVP race. And I understand that most people that hear me and listen to me and know what I do on a regular basis understand that I am a Cavaliers fan. But is LeBron James not doing things that people have never seen done before? He's playing more minutes than anybody else in the NBA. And he, at 30-whatever years old.
I thought a couple years ago it was his prime. And somebody raised the topic today, are we seeing Bron at his prime? And I'm like, holy cow.
He's a freak.
If that's the case, I just can't believe it. I know Jordan was in his prime in his 30s. He was great, but he wasn't priming.
At this point in their career, LeBron has more MVPs. At this point in their career, LeBron has more minutes. At this point in their career, LeBron has a better field goal percentage. LeBron is doing things that we've never seen players do before. And I understand that this is on a Cavaliers team that has gotten significantly older this past year with the addition of guys like Dwayne Wade, Green, and all those other guys that have joined the squad. Derrick Rose, those guys who's recently rejoined the team. But I think that as far as the East concerns, let's let it be what it is. It's going to be Boston and Cleveland at the end of the year. And let's go to the West, and I'll say it's either going to be Golden State in Houston or Golden State in San Antonio. Okay? But I think that LeBron James is doing things at this point in his career that no one has ever seen somebody do before. And a lot of people forget that at this age, Michael Jordan had taken years off.
Yeah.
And
people
need to remember.
Yeah,
he had a couple bombs for the Birmingham Barons.
Bill Russell was a player coach. Pete Rose was a player manager. LeBron James is a player general manager.
Yeah, but
you've never seen that before.
But I have some issues with that part of it because if you look back at the Cavaliers of 2006, 2007, we paid Shaquille O'Neal way too much money because LeBron James said so. So I don't know if I trust LeBron James, the GM. But what I am saying is that I trust LeBron James as a player who's going out at age 30+ and putting up more minutes than anybody in the league and dropping double-doubles and triple-doubles like players not named Russell Westbrook have ever done before. And the Cavaliers are in a position right now, they've won double-digit games in a row, which the Celtics did earlier this year with young Kyrie Irving, who came from where? Cleveland Cavaliers, thank you very much. I just think that people need to take a half second and regardless of, and this is the hard part because people that listen do understand my bias towards Cleveland Cavaliers. I think that right now what people need to do as far as the NBA is concerned until the All-Star break, because like you said, Scott, most people don't pay attention until the All-Star break because really at that point that's when the season starts in the NBA. But if you're a fan of basketball, if you're a fan of sport, take a day. Watch the Cleveland Cavaliers and watch what LeBron James is doing at the age that he is in dominating basketball games, because I don't think that you'll ever see anybody, and I'm going to be as bold to say this, including Michael Jordan, ever do anything like you're watching LeBron do right now. And right now, just appreciate the greatness that you're seeing. Appreciate this as the best, if not second best basketball player that you've ever seen. But watch him lead this team and watch the way that he plays basketball. And I'll tell you what, LeBron James is doing things that he's never done before. He's got the highest field goal percentage that he's ever had in his career. He's playing great basketball. He's got a lot of pieces around him. He's got his best friend in Dwayne Wade there. I think, and plus, they got Isaiah Thomas coming back. I think that the Cleveland Cavaliers are doing things that a lot of teams haven't done before. I think that the Cleveland Cavaliers are in the best position in the East because Gordon Hayward's never going to come back to the Boston Celtics this year. Maybe in the playoffs, but I don't think Gordon Hayward's coming back. But we still got Isaiah Thomas coming back, and Derrick Rose, who's decided to rejoin the team despite the personal reasons that he left. But Derrick Rose is coming back as our 2 guard. And when you can say that, who's the second best point guard on your team? Oh, I got a former MVP. Cavaliers are somebody people need to worry about. Okay, I think the Boston Celtics at this point in time are the best team in the East. But I really am asking people who listen to this show, including you gentlemen, all 3 of you that are here today, watch LeBron James and watch some of these things that he's doing, because this is something that you'll never see again in your life, and this is something that you're going to get an opportunity to tell your kids one day, I saw him way back when, Scott.
Let's get to our thumbs up and thumbs down for the week. Butch, let's go to you first. What are your thumbs up and thumbs down this week, my friend?
Thumbs up for Josh Gordon there, coming in there, shining like a rose there. We wish him well in his endeavor with the Cleveland Browns there. Very good thumbs up for him there. Thumbs down for the Detroit Lions this week. They all smell like a bunch of skunks there. Hopefully they get it together. I'm tired of hearing all the excuses. Either win, lose, or leave out of town by sundown.
Couldn't agree more, Butch. Todd Olmstead, your first ever thumbs up and thumbs down on the game.
World famous Todd Olmstead.
That's right. What do you got for us today?
Butch is very knowledgeable. I'm just going to say 1,078. That was the number of days between Josh Gordon's last game and his game on Sunday. Thumbs up to him. Just like Butch, I watched the whole game. I put him in fantasy daily lineups because I figured something. But thumbs down as well to the Lions. Why can't we put together a first half? Why can't we come out inspired? Why? I do not understand. I want to see them come out inspired. Butch, thank you for bringing those 2 up. Don't mean to piggyback, but you're absolutely right, sir.
Hey, we piggyback all the time on this show, especially when people make sense. My thumbs up to the NCAA Selection Football Committee for getting my Alabama Crimson Tide in. You get your time here in a minute.
Can I say go bleep yourself?
Absolutely. Thumbs down to the Detroit Lions. Butch, you said it. Todd, you said it. They can't even implode their old stadium right. They got it right today eventually. But, one playoff victory in 60 years. I mean, enough is enough. I've used this analogy. It's not politically correct, especially these days, but being a Detroit Lions fan is like being a spouse that's battered. You think they're going to change. You think, you know what? They've changed. This is the different year. They got this. He's been going to rehab. She's been going to rehab. And come November, you're getting thrown down the stairs again, and it's the same old Lions. SOL, same old Lions. And another thumbs down.
I appreciate the reference. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little dramatic there.
Yeah, but it makes sense.
And another thumbs down to the Outback Steakhouse for selecting Michigan, a team that did not win, over a team above 500 with an 8-4 record. They select them over Michigan State, who finished 9-3 in the top 20, beat Michigan 8 of the last 10 years. Michigan State's going to the Holiday Bowl, which again is a very good bowl.
It's a good bowl.
I would have taken that at the beginning of the year, but come on,
Scott. They're all Holiday Bowls. Let's be honest. That's why they're bowls.
That's true. EJ Russell, your thumbs up and thumbs down for the week, sir.
Well, as much as I respect both of these 2 gentlemen, I hate both of you for taking Josh Gordon away from me.
Cheers.
How can you not? It's a great story.
Well, and here's the thing. This is a guy that really has, and if I can, I'm going to give a double thumbs up this week. I really do think that Josh Gordon does deserve a lot of credit for a guy that has gone out and really shown people that coming out of the cellars of human being and
selling cars
and hitting your bottom and walking around the streets looking for drugs, come to Jesus or God, whatever you believe in. But he had his come to Jesus rising up, realizing what he needed to do, and doing what he had to do to get back to the National Football League. And not only doing that, but going out and in your first game back, putting up 85 yards in a game where most people didn't think that you would even catch a ball.
And God bless Hugh Jackson and the coaching staff, because they gave him a shot. The former coaching staff wasn't going to give him a shot. They're like, this guy's washed up. He's done it. Hugh gave him a shot, and just to see the sidelines and what I can't say enough. And I never thought I was going to be talking about Josh Gordon. So thanks, Butch.
There you go. And I do want to say too, I think you made a great point there. Is Hugh Jackson is absolutely the best coach to bring Josh Gordon back in the league, because as a guy that follows the Browns closely, I believe that Hugh Jackson, I don't think anybody else could have done it like Hugh did. So I'm really glad to see Josh Gordon back having success, and I can't wait to see my Cleveland Browns beat the Green Bay Packers next week. Let's go! I'm pounding on the table.
Any thumbs down this week, EJ?
My thumbs down is to the College Football Playoff Committee, just because, and again, I am not upset about the Final Four. I just want someone to explain how you elevate Alabama, and I don't think that what you used last year is a fair comparison to what happened this year, Scott.
Gentlemen, that's going to do it here for the game. EJ and Todd, thanks for joining us. Todd, great to have you back. We're going to be hearing you for Brimley Bays basketball coming up. EJ, you'll be with me tomorrow night in Brimley as the Bays will take on the Lansing Vikings. Gentlemen, thanks again.
I'm so happy that Todd was here today. I haven't seen him in forever, but every time that him and I talk, we have a lot of fun. So
absolutely.
I'm glad that he was here with us.
Thank you,
and
Scott.
Scott
Thank
and
you,
Butch,
Butch.
obviously a lot of fun tonight.
And Butch Davis from the Telegram News and Butch on Sports, thank you for joining us. Butch, what's on deck for you this week before next week's edition of the game?
A lot of pies in the face here and ducking those Christmas parties here. I don't know. I wish Soupy Sales was still living here. This would make it right, but the Red Wings going to be back home, and also the Pistons at the latter part of the week when Golden State come on in there. You bet your bottom dollar I'm going to be down there and check those particulars out there, and maybe get into a little high school basketball here.
Looking forward to it. Butch, thanks again for joining us, and EJ has one more thought before we go.
Speaking of Butch, is somebody planning on a trip up here soon?
We're working on that, Butch, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
You make it up here, you better plan on me pulling something on you.
Look, you got a rear end kicking coming here, buddy.
Listen, buddy, you better keep an eye. You better.
I love it.
You better keep an eye on your six, because you know I'm going to pull something.
Oh boy, Butch, I think we have a challenge.
Nothing but.
We love it, Butch. Hey, have a great week. We'll talk to you on Monday, my friend.
All righty.
That's going to do it here from the Wicked Sister for the game. I want to thank all our guests, including Matt Bathy, head coach of the Brimley Bays, Dion Parker, assistant coach of the Laker women's basketball team, Todd Olmstead, E.J. Russell, our broadcast engineer, Katie Wolin, and Butch Davis from the Telegram News. We will talk to you next Monday for another edition of the game here on Eagle 95.1. See you!
Thanks for tuning into the game on Eagle 95.1. Tune in every Monday night at 6 for local sports talk on The Game from the Wicked Sister on Ashman in downtown Sault Ste. Marie. You can hear the full 2-hour broadcast of the game, including regional and national sports talk and guests, on the podcast page snason.podomatic.com.
Or you can find the link on our Eagle 95.1 Facebook page.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled program.
Eagle 95.1 WUPN Paradise, Sault Ste. Marie.